What separates a good plot twist from a bad one? I got to kind of think about this question recently as I was playing a game and ended up watching as the plot twist that was kind of telegraphed unfolded and kind of after it sat for a while, it was almost like then a secondary plot twist was added to almost compound it. So there was one thing that we expected or was kind of to be kind of intuitive that something was going to happen, but then the second one kind of just hit in a sense to just kind of be the reveal and the cliffhanger in a sense. So it was just kind of interesting how that unfolded, and it got me thinking about that it as a story technique is, and whether it's a good idea or not to use it, and kind of having one foreshadow plot twist kind of cover for the secondary plot twist that makes the story go a bit deeper. But so in thinking about that, I started thinking about, okay, what makes a good plot twist and what makes a bad plot twist. And now the thing is, there are some plot twists that are just done for shot. That's basically the purpose. It's to keep the audience on the edge of their seat. And there may not be anything wrong with that, but they can kind of be a bit cheap in a sense, especially if it's done constantly and there's always like a plot twist around the corner and a sudden change in everything. And just out of nowhere sometimes. So then it can be almost like the boy that tried wolf at times, where it's like if someone's looking for a bit more substance to the plot twists, then just having stuff that's for shot and awe may not be for them. And again, it depends on who your audience is. But I would say the other part of a plot twist that kind of separates them is the plot twist reasonable? Do the characters behave in the ways we expect them to, or is the only reason the plot twist happened is because the characters had to do something out of character, as in they stopped being the drivers of the plot and ended up being contorted and servants to the plot. So, and part of this can also be in where the plot twist is. If the plot twist is early enough, where we actually don't really know a lot about the characters, then having them do something that seems a bit weird can actually be perfectly justifiable because it was part of what we didn't know about them. But if it's because, but if it's kind of after we've got to know them, so we kind of have certain things that we expect them to do, then having the plot twist be something suddenly so out of character without any justification for it, then it can be kind of cheapened and feel worn in a sense. And another thing to look for in plot twists is that what is the setup? Is there kind of room for rewatching the story later on? And again, that's kind of like, is there value to be gained from it? And basically, while we can conceive the plot twist in itself and what happens there, sometimes seeing how there's little hints at the twist beforehand sprinkled throughout the story, or little things that we contextualize in light of what happened, so that by kind of going back and looking for those specific scenes, you can kind of see, oh, this was hinted at all along. And so it's kind of probably there in the mind that these scenes happened so that the plot twist becomes perfectly reasonable. So by hinting at something happening beforehand, you can basically make it so that the plot twist becomes more easily accepted. But that does run the risk of audiences picking up on the plot twist beforehand. They may even guess it exactly right. And at that point, I think you have to ask yourself a question. Who are you really doing the plot twist for? The Ito or the audience? Or what matters to you more? And again, think of Ito as basically, look how smart I am with coming up with a plot twist that no one saw coming. Probably because there was no evidence on it beforehand. But the thing is, that kind of feeds into a creative's Ito. Versus the audience, in that the audience feels like intelligent because they see the evidence that put in before, or they feel respected because they know it didn't come out of nowhere. It wasn't just something done for shock. They see all the evidence pointing at it beforehand. Or maybe they just feel good for figuring out beforehand. And again, it's who are you wanting to please more, the audience or your own ego? At least that's my kind of take on it. So why not feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, you can like and share it so others may enjoy it as well. And you can subscribe to our channel if you want to see more videos like this as well. Anyway, I'm Jonah, and you've been watching Lions Mane Media, where we celebrate stories and the lessons learned from them. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.